Alice Keller was 28 years old, yet she felt as though life had just closed the final definitive chapter on all her grandest dreams. She sat in the cavernous, echoing waiting area of John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City, staring blankly through a rain-streaked window at the blurry, distorted lights of ascending airplanes, while clutching a cheap plastic cup filled with lukewarm, bitter coffee. Over the past 2 grueling weeks in the massive metropolis, she had gone through 15 separate job interviews, and every single one of them had ended in a polite, rehearsed rejection. It was always the exact same phrase, delivered with a thin veneer of corporate sympathy. "You possess immense talent, but we are looking for someone with far more experience in large-scale national marketing campaigns." It felt as though her raw ability meant absolutely nothing, as if the 5 years of sleepless nights she had dedicated to her degree at the Maine College of Art in Portland were completely worthless in the face of this unforgiving, brutal job market. Alice glanced down at the glowing screen of her phone, which indicated it was 10 minutes before midnight, meaning her late-night flight back to Portland was scheduled for boarding in less than 10 minutes. This night flight represented a painful, defeating return to her grandmother's house, back to the tiny, cramped attic bedroom that she had left just a month ago, with a heart overflowing with vibrant hope. She had been utterly convinced that New York City would recognize her creative worth and finally grant her the single breakthrough chance she desperately needed to jumpstart her career. Instead, she was returning home entirely defeated, with a mere $200 left in her checking account and a heavy leather binder filled with meticulous resumes that absolutely nobody wanted to read. Deep inside her worn canvas travel bag, resting right next to 5 pristine copies of her curriculum vitae printed on expensive archival paper, lay a completely different kind of document. This hidden document was a deeply personal letter she had written 3 nights earlier at 3 o'clock in the morning in a suffocatingly small motel room in Queens, where she paid $40 a night because that was the absolute limit of what she could afford. It was certainly not a cover letter intended for any prospective corporate employer, but rather an honest, painful letter addressed entirely to herself, written amidst a torrent of quiet tears following her most devastating rejection. She had composed it while sitting cross-legged on a narrow, sagging mattress, listening to the muffled, bitter arguments of neighbors fighting over unpaid bills through the thin drywall of the motel. The raw text was titled, "Reasons Why I Will Never Return to My Grandmother's House, Just to Spend My Life Packing Boxes in Her Bakery." It consisted of 12 carefully numbered reasons, written with a noticeably trembling hand during a dark moment when it felt as though her entire world was collapsing around her. The very first reason on her list read, "Because I did not spend 5 intensive years at a prestigious art institution just to operate a commercial sugar glaze machine." The 10th reason was far more intimate and painful for her to read, stating, "Because I promised my father right before he passed away that I would do something truly great with the artistic talent he gave me." Suddenly, the loud, mechanical chime of the airport intercom broke through her heavy thoughts, announcing the final boarding call for her flight. Alice stood up slowly, her body feeling twice as heavy as it had that morning, and began to navigate her way through the thick crowd of exhausted, silent travelers who were all boarding the late-night plane. She eventually found her assigned window seat in row 23, which was located deep within the cramped confines of the economy class section. She wedged her canvas bag beneath the seat in front of her, placed her leather binder of design documents carefully on her lap, and leaned her forehead against the cold, vibrating window pane as she closed her eyes in sheer exhaustion. She thought about how incredibly naive she had been to believe that simply being exceptionally skilled and genuinely loving her craft would be enough to survive in the professional world. A moment later, she felt the slight shift of weight in the adjacent seat, as a man in a perfectly tailored charcoal business suit sat down beside her, his focus entirely consumed by the glowing screen of a laptop he was already opening. He did not bother to cast a glance in her direction, which was an immense relief to Alice, who currently possessed absolutely no emotional strength or desire to engage in polite small talk with a stranger. The flight attendant walked briskly down the narrow aisle, checking seatbelts, as the main cabin lights gently dimmed to a soft blue hue, and the powerful jet engines began to emit a deep, rhythmic hum before takeoff. Alice closed her eyes once again, fully aware that the flight would last less than 2 hours, but she dreaded the morning that awaited her when her grandmother would inevitably ask how the trip went. The airplane accelerated down the runway and lifted smoothly into the night sky, but Alice was far too emotionally drained to even notice the moment the wheels left the pavement. The heavy leather binder containing her life's work remained balanced precariously on her lap, loosely held in place by her relaxed, tired fingers. Nestled safely between the professional pages of her resume was that raw, deeply emotional letter that should have never left the privacy of a desk drawer. It was a document far too honest and vulnerable for public eyes, yet she carried it with her as a fierce, necessary reminder of why she could not allow herself to give up, even when every external circumstance told her she should. The businessman sitting next to her continued to work in absolute silence, the faint click of his keyboard serving as a steady rhythm in the quiet cabin, while the plane soared through the dark clouds. As midnight passed, Alice felt her head growing increasingly heavy, her eyelids shutting tightly, as her body practically screamed for the deep rest she had denied it for the past 3 days. Gradually, without any conscious awareness, her torso began to tilt slightly to the right as the plane encountered a minor patch of high-altitude turbulence. Before she could realize what was happening, she drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep, her head sliding downward until it came to rest firmly against the firm shoulder of the unknown man sitting next to her. As her body relaxed completely in sleep, her grip on the leather binder loosened, and during a sudden, sharp jolt of the aircraft, the binder flipped open. Several loose pages began to slide silently out, cascading quietly down into the narrow gap between their 2 seats, entirely unnoticed by the sleeping young woman. Michael Walters noticed the stray white papers slipping past the edge of his vision, causing his fingers to instantly pause over his laptop keyboard. He looked down into the dim space between the armrests and discovered 3 distinct sheets of paper resting against his polished leather shoe, right beside the deeply sleeping woman. For a brief moment, he hesitated to reach down, because he genuinely did not want to disturb her rest. She looked entirely consumed by a profound exhaustion, her face finally free of the intense tension he had noticed when she first boarded. He carefully leaned down and gathered the scattered documents, fully intending to place them neatly back on her lap tray without looking at them. However, the top page was a professional resume that clearly displayed her name, Alice Keller, alongside a modest photograph, detailing her background as a 28-year-old graphic designer who had graduated from the Maine College of Art. Michael's eyes casually swept across her list of technical proficiencies, noting her mastery of advanced digital illustration, typography, and corporate branding, alongside 3 years of solid experience at a boutique agency in Maine. It was an impeccably structured, beautifully balanced document that immediately revealed the creator possessed a highly sophisticated understanding of visual aesthetics and design theory. The second page he had retrieved was a beautifully curated printed portfolio, showing miniature snapshots of her past projects, including a logo for a local coastal cafe and a complete visual identity for a small family bakery. Michael nodded his head in silent approval, recognizing true talent, but it was the third piece of paper that caused him to pause entirely. It was a sheet of lined paper covered in hurried, emotional handwriting, bearing the stark title, "Reasons Why I Will Never Return to My Grandmother's House, Just to Spend My Life Packing Boxes in Her Bakery." Michael knew he should immediately fold the paper and put it away, recognizing that it was an intensely private document, never meant for a stranger's eyes. Yet the sheer raw honesty of the first sentence caught his attention completely. He read the second reason, which stated that her father had actually sold